Good evening. I am Marcia Marins. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Chautauqua County. The League of Women Voters of Chautauqua County, Greg Robb from the Political Science Department of Jamestown Community College, and the Jamestown Association of University Women are pleased to present our Meet the Candidates Night. We all want everyone to vote and to be confident that their vote will count, but also wants voters to be informed. The League produces several brochures which are in the back. One is on the facts for the New York State Constitutional Convention. One is called the Voter's Guide, which has the three propositions that you will be looking for on your ballot. And the third is the legislative agenda of the League of Women Voters. But we also conduct candidates' meetings as a service to voters because it gives them a means of forming a first-hand judgment of the candidates, and as a service to the candidates because it gives them an opportunity to present their views to audiences of varied political backgrounds and affiliation. We have not given the candidates any of the questions we have here in advance except the first one. You can ask them about any issues that you care about, and they will respond unscripted. So you can see how well they can think on their feet, so to speak. They have to stay seated, though. Oftentimes, when I have conducted a candidates debate, before the debate, I had in mind who I thought I was going to vote for from what I read in the paper. But when I saw them think on their feet and respond to questions, I can't tell you how many times I have changed my mind. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the way you determine the best candidate, not from what you necessarily read in the newspaper. So we welcome candidates this evening for county executive, county legislator, and those candidates are up here, and then we will have candidates for county clerk. The League of Women Voters, if you don't know by now, is a trusted, nonpartisan political organization. The League places an emphasis on getting out the vote, voter registration drives, Take Me to Vote programs in elementary schools, and efforts to streamline voter registration laws. All of this is a continuing part of League activities. With us this evening are the candidates for County Executive, Mr. George Borrello and Mr. Michael Ferguson, and the candidates for County Legislature, Mr. Frank Besse, Ms. Elisabeth Rankin, Mr. David Reinhardt, and Mr. David Wilfong. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to a question they received prior to this meeting and include in that 2 minutes a brief presentation discussing their qualifications. And after the opening statements, candidates will have the ability to question one another, and members of the audience will be urged to ask a question of any candidate or of all the candidates. Each reply will be limited to 1 minute.
If a question is addressed to a specific candidate, others will be welcome to add comments or replies of their own. Candidates will also be able to rebut or challenge one another, which is limited to 1 minute. And there will also at the end be a 1 minute for closing statements. The question that the candidates received ahead of time is, what is the most important problem facing Chautauqua County today? And in your position, how will that affect you? And what is the first thing you would do or anything you would do to solve it if elected.
Before we do our dance to the music, I'm going to ask that you check your cell phones. I meant to do that earlier. I apologize. Mine is turned off, and I hope yours are too. I don't care if it vibrates. I don't hear it. You might actually like that. Okay, we will begin with Mr. Borrello.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate everybody being here, and I appreciate the league doing this. Just to give you a brief introduction myself, I was born and raised in Silver Creek in Fredonia, graduated from Fredonia High School and Purdue University. I started my own business and became a very successful business, and I recently retired. So to answer the question of what is the biggest problem we face, it is that we have far too much government in Chautauqua County. As the chairman of the Regional Solutions Commission, I have dedicated myself to reducing the size and the scope and the burden of government in Chautauqua County. This is the number one thing we face, because out of that springs everything else. We have too much government, which creates unpredictable, risky environment for business, which makes it more difficult for people to want to start a business here and grow a business here. It also creates an undue tax burden. And quite frankly, we have far too many positions in this county that go unchallenged because of so many layers of government and so many municipalities. We're about the size of the town of Amherst at 130,000 people, yet we have 2 cities, 27 towns, at one point 15 villages, now 13 villages, and 42 fire districts. Ladies and gentlemen, we have too much government in Chautauqua County. I have led the fight to reduce government and reduce the burden of government, and as your county executive, I will continue to do that.
Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you. Good evening. I too would like to thank the League of Women Voters for allowing us to be here tonight, and for those who are in attendance. I would also like to thank Jamestown Community College and Mr. Rabb for allowing us to be here this evening. While I believe that government is too big, I think that the biggest solution to our issues are more jobs. More jobs bring more people. Family-sustaining wages help keep people in Chautauqua County, and by bringing those jobs to Chautauqua County, we bring new residents, retain the residents that we currently have, invest back into the community, which will allow us to have lower taxes and lower property taxes in the future as well. The future for Chautauqua County is in jobs. I was born and raised in Buffalo, New York, and have lived here in Chautauqua County for over 30 years. And I have seen the growth of Western New York and Erie County, Pennsylvania, and I have seen we've seen stagnancy here in Chautauqua County. While we attempt to bring new business, we're not ready to bring that business to our community. We have a lack of shovel-ready sites. We have a lack of proactive government with regards to seeking these new jobs. And as county executive, I can promise you that we will see development not only in the South County, but throughout all of Chautauqua County as we represent the 4 corners. I've worked on all 4 corners of Chautauqua County, from WDOE and 96 Kicks up in the upper part of the county, to WKSN HUG here in the lower parts of the county, as well as the Jamestown Jammers, the Jamestown Savings Bank Arena, and much more. And I hope that you'll consider us for your vote on November 7th, because as my friend Mark Thomas says, we have a plan.
Thank you. Ms. Rankin?
Thank you. My name's Elisabeth Rankin, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you also to the League of Women Voters and to everybody who came out tonight, especially on a rainy night. I have a master's in business administration degree, and I have a political science degree as my bachelor's. I work as my other job. I'm the district office director for Assemblyman Goodell, so I have a lot of experience with constituent services and government at all different levels. I'm extremely concerned about the economy and jobs, and I have, there's so many things that stem from that. If you look around our community, the side effects of that are potentially crime. I think some of our drug problems come from what's going on in the neighborhoods. We want to be able to keep our young people here if we have more jobs and business. Part of what we need to do is to show the population who's here and the potential employers what kind of serious attitude we have about making this a place where they want to come. And if we could make this a business-friendly environment, an attractive place for our youth to live, our young people to live, for people to get a job, to not move away, to show that we're taking care of our seniors, our people, our most vulnerable in the society, by attacking our taxes, by dealing with the drug issue in the town. And these are things that I've worked very hard on already. I think if we can signal that we're serious about those things, including reducing the cost of government, that take pride in our neighborhoods, those are all things to show potential employers and residents that we're the kind of place where you want to live and work. Thank you.
Mr. Reinhardt.
Good evening. I'm David Reinhardt. I'm running for the Chautauqua County Legislature, District 12 in Jamestown. I was born in Buffalo, raised in Jamestown. My wife, Temu, and I recently shared our 20th wedding anniversary, and we have 2 daughters, Olivia, who's a freshman at the University of Buffalo, and Natalie, an 8th grader at Washington Middle School. I understand firsthand the challenges of hardworking families. I am passionate about helping young people realize and achieve their potential. I have a long and extensive history and career of community involvement and leadership. I believe I am in a unique position to create positive change in Chautauqua County. Since announcing my candidacy, I've had the opportunity to speak with hundreds of citizens, young, old, black, white, rich, poor, Latino, Swedish, employed and seeking employment. They share concerns of poor housing, crumbling neighborhoods, increased violent crimes, and illegal drugs. Additionally, they include talking about lack of good-paying jobs and taxes. But why do we make Chautauqua County our home? Because we love the change of seasons. We have great schools and great teachers. It's a county of champions. The Red Raider football team, our marching bands, Maple Grove cross country, tremendous parks, recreational facilities, and the future home of the National Comedy Center. Yes, we all love Lucy. This summer, I tried to recruit a young professional couple from Buffalo to move to Jamestown. She was a pharmacist, and he was a teacher, a track coach, who loved minor league baseball. I wanted them to come and help us out with our programs. Coach, I was going to work to try to find them jobs. They simply said, we cannot move to Jamestown. It's too dangerous. All we hear on Buffalo News is about crime, shootings. I tried to encourage them to come, they just wouldn't budge. So why am I running? Because I want an opportunity to change. I want to help Chautauqua County change. Just like the Buffalo Bills have found a new heart and passion and desire for victory under Sean McDermott.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You could finish your sentence, but
Mr. Besse.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here, and thank you all for attending. It's great to see so many people here caring about the local issues in our community with a time that national politics and governance is, you don't check your phones for the next hour, you might leave. My name is Frank Besse. I'm a local business owner, entrepreneur. I co-own the Labyrinth Press Company in Brazil Craft Beer and Wine Lounge. It's been exciting for me to be part of the renaissance, the revival of downtown, the focus on downtown in a positive way. I appreciate every day that I get to walk outside my door and be part of what's happening in our community. Before becoming involved with that, I worked at the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation for 2 years working in community and economic development. I saw the struggles we have in housing, economic development, filling storefronts, branding our community to both residents and out-of-town visitors. We've had hard conversations every single day about how to make our community a better place. And we also followed it up with really tough work. Outside of work, which I do a lot of, I found time to volunteer at WRFA, being a part of the community radio station that's really important for our community. We, would record public service announcements and help other people lend their voice to the community. I also spent 3 years coaching the women's flat track roller derby team, a unique asset I have among my colleagues here this evening. I care a lot about our community. I care about Jamestown. I grew up in Cherry Creek, graduating from Pine Valley Central School. I love the rural qualities that our community has. I love that you can walk down and see the townhouses that I am part owner of and the amazing architecture that's been here for 150 years. And in a 10-minute drive, you can be, well, sometimes in the city of Jamestown, you can see deer and all this wildlife, but you get outside the community and you see the natural beauty that too many of us take for granted. And with that, I just want to thank you all for being here, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilfong.
My name is Dave Wilfong, and I'm the county legislator for District 11. I have been a Jamestown resident all my life, other than my terms that I was in the United States Army. I think the biggest issue we have in the city of Jamestown today is our opioid problem. It has actually destroyed our families, our community, and our neighborhoods, especially in our lower wards, Ward 3-1, 3-2, and that's who I represent. I think we've got to do something about the easily accessible drugs on our streets today. And I think we need to change the approach for pain management and how drugs are actually dispensed. We have to effectively treat the overdose with the Narcan. It should be free to rural areas. We need to crack down on the illicit drug traffic. We need an aggressive media campaign on the dangers and addictions of the opioid problems. And one of the things that recently I just was made aware of, we've really got to take a look now at the increased funding for child protective services, because now these kids are in homes where their mother and father are actually addicts. And it is putting a huge strain on the foster care program. So if you don't think that opioid addiction is going to cost you money, you just wait till you see the next Chautauqua County budget in 2018, 2019. It's going to cost us all, and it affects us all. Thank you very much.
So now we will open our meeting to a question and answer format. Rebuttals are limited to 1 minute, and candidates, of course, may do that. Is there any question from the audience at this point? Yes.
I'd like to ask the entire panel, part of making the business atmosphere in this county is improving social cohesion. I look around in this room, I don't see very many African Americans, I don't see many Hispanic people. I think that's a problem. I know that statewide transgender people, gay people.
What is your question?
Are discriminated against. What in your opinion can be done on the county level to make the social atmosphere one that businesses will want to live in?
Thank you.
As well as do business in.
What can be done in the county to encourage more social cohesion? Anybody want to jump into that?
I'll take a shot at that.
Okay.
America as a whole, along with Chautauqua County, is becoming a more diverse community. If you've made the trek to New York City or Toronto, there are over 45 different languages in those communities, which makes the election process pretty difficult. I think you'll find here in Chautauqua County that we are open and will continue to be open to a diverse population, as we need to be, not only for business, but for the social aspects of living as one. I do think that we have done a good job of being diverse, but I think there are more opportunities for increased diversity as we move forward, not only in business, but in education and society in general. So I fully support diversity of our community.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes? Ms. Rankin, go ahead.
I love the fact that we have a nicely diverse community. And you're right, we should see more of that represented in a gathering like this. I'm really happy to see, for example, the Hispanic Coalition, who is out doing work in the community and encouraging involvement. I think anytime any of us have an opportunity, it starts at grassroots. As individuals, we need to reach out to the people around us in the different communities. Like when we're out knocking on doors, I like to go to every neighborhood. I like to meet people of all walks of life. So we start as individuals, then as a government and elected officials, we need to incorporate, invite, and include whenever we can. And then we need to provide help if they're having trouble with the language or understanding something. So let's start with our own individual efforts.
Anybody else? Okay.
I would just,
Oh,
may I? Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Wilfong had his
Sure.
hand up, sir.
Well, I just want to address the comment made about the African Americans. I don't think that the African Americans in our district are down and out. I attend many church services with the North Main Street Church of God, Emmanuel Baptist, and the Blackwell Chapel. The churches themselves are very, very well-rooted and deep-rooted in our community. They're doing great work. Now, why they didn't show up here today, that's everybody to their own means. But I want you to realize that they are alive and well down in wards 3-1, 3-2, and they are doing great work down there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Besse?
While we live in a predominantly, white working family population, there are many different people that call our community home, and that is really exciting to me. I think that as leadership in our community, we should embrace all members of the community that want to be here and live here. I remember of a question that was posed to someone that moved somewhere, and it was a really tight-knit community, and the question wasn't, how long have you been here? It's how long are you going to stay here? Okay? And I really think that that's an important question to ask people. As far as those who are not here, I think that there's a lot of people that are disenfranchised with government, with politics, and society in general. And it is our responsibility as people of privilege and opportunity to go to them where they are and say, what can we do for you? What can we offer you to give you hope and opportunity in our community? And as your next county legislator, I will do that. Make sure that people are engaged and believe that the government can do something for them.
Thank you. Are we still responding to this question?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Reinhardt.
Yes, I was, when we moved here, I lived on Lafayette Street. I was raised on the color line, and in my own home, I'm a minority. My children don't look like me, and my wife is African American, and we raised our kids to love one another. Every time we go somewhere, I'm proud of my children, proud of my wife, and every time we go somewhere, I think it's an opportunity for others to see us and love us and reach out to us. And I'm not ashamed of it, I'm not shy.
We have one more response to that question.
I believe the rising tide lifts all boats, and we have economic opportunity here in Chautauqua County. The more opportunity you have, the larger, more diverse your community can be. So as we move forward in trying to streamline government, reduce the burden of government, reducing taxes as we have been in the county, we've lowered property taxes every year for the last 4 years, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. That reducing that burden of government invites more people here, it invites more economic activity, and that is good for everyone, no matter what color, what gender, what race you prefer.
Thank you.
Rebuttal?
There's a rebuttal, okay?
Not necessarily rebuttal, but the fact that if we're going to respect diversity in our community, we do have to offer more opportunities, but we also need to be able to answer the questions of the people that currently live here. I think that county services have to be redirected across the entire county. Since the fire in the North County in Dunkirk, we have not replaced many of those services. And in many areas of County Hall, we have no translators with which to serve our Spanish-speaking citizens and those who do not speak English language. If we are going to truly honor diversity, it's time that we have those services available countywide.
Respond to that
Thank you.
response?
Yes?
Yes, since he brought up North County Services, which is kind of a little bit of a tangent here.
It is.
Yeah, so
let's stay on the question.
all right, well, I think if I could respond to that, our North County services are alive and well. We have a mental hygiene clinic up there that's providing services. We also have the Chautauqua Center, which is federally funded, and that actually supplies a lot of the services that the county once was providing at a local share and no longer is. I do not want to see the duplication of services in the North County. I want to rather see us streamline and continue to take advantage of the fact that we have several layers of government that can work together to not duplicate services and provide a better, more efficient government at a lower cost, especially here with our county property taxes.
I'm not sure that's a rebuttal. Let's go on to the next question.
Mr. Besse used the term privilege, and I wondered what he thought privileges were part of, say, the people in this room that aren't available generally.
How many people drove here tonight? That's a privilege. There's a lot of people that can't get to Cummins because they can't get a ride.
Other question from the audience? Yes.
Those who know me know I'm involved with energy locally, statewide, nationally, and sometimes out of the country. what isn't known very much in this county, we have 3 municipal generators that don't produce, but they transport energy. We have a municipal utility in Jamestown. We have 2 private utilities. We have some of the lowest electrical rates in the country. And yet, we're not recruiting interest to come in here and use those. I bet you right now that this board up here wouldn't even know who the paper utilities are in the county. My answer to this.
You're
is
asking
that
a question
there's
and
not
answering
enough-
it. How
there's
about,
not enough going on with this.
Jack,
How
what
would
is
you-
the question?
How would you use our local utilities to recruit new investment and opportunities with job creation?
How would you
Where
use
go to?
local utilities to increase jobs,
I'll take a crack at that.
businesses?
Thanks. Well, Doug, I've known you for a long time, so this is obviously a passion of yours, but the bottom line is that we do have programs in place now to provide low-cost electricity and other utilities to potential job creators that are going to come to Chautauqua County. It's part of our program at the IDA. It's part of the program at the county. The city of Jamestown does similar things. This is certainly an important part of it. But if the governor gets his way, and he starts to blanket upstate New York with wind turbines, they're going to dramatically increase the cost of electricity to our instead of and right now. Running power lines to dirty power in Pennsylvania instead of the clean energy that he wants, it's going to dramatically increase the cost while reducing the options that people have, and it's going to further put a burden on businesses here in Chautauqua County.
There's a woman here.
Anybody else with a question? Yeah.
How do we improve our shovel-ready sites, and how do we improve the marketing across the country so that we can get more business here in this county?
I'll take a
Thank
crack
you.
at that if you want.
Okay.
Okay. Well, right now we have 9 shovel-ready sites in Chautauqua County that come up with about 326 acres of land. Those shovel-ready sites we have 3 in the South County, 3 in the North County in our 2 industrial parks. We have 1 in Ripley, and we have 2 in the town of Hanover. But we can have 100 shovel-ready sites here in Chautauqua County. The problem is this: we have an oppressive number of governments here that create an unpredictable and expensive situation for businesses to come and locate here. We're not attracting businesses because we don't have enough shovel-ready sites. We're not attracting businesses because we have an unpredictable and risky and expensive environment for businesses to locate here, and we have to fix that.
Thank you. Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you. We're not attracting businesses because we're not ready for business. We don't have shovel-ready sites. We've got a definition of shovel-ready sites. Ripley's a perfect example of that. Go to Ripley and you'll find overgrown fields. And even those shovel-ready sites that are available aren't shovel-ready as they were just 8 years ago. Southern Tier Brewing, which is a worldwide brand now, was built on a shovel-ready site. Purian was built on a shovel-ready site. Certamatch was built on a shovel-ready site. We've got 2 companies right now that are sitting on supposed shovel-ready sites that have delayed putting a shovel into the ground. And you know what success is in bringing business to the community? Is when people get a paycheck. Otherwise, it's a great press conference.
May I respond to that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Legislators can jump into this anytime.
Anytime.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to dominate the conversation here.
Oh.
It's- In fact, we have a lot of economic activity going on here. Recently in Buffalo Business Purse, we were voted number 2 out of 18 economic development sites with $2.8 billion in economic activity. We beat out downtown Buffalo in the Central Business District. We beat out the Buffalo-Niagara Medical Corridor. We beat out Niagara Falls and the surrounding areas. So I'm really tired of hearing that we have stagnation here and we have problems. We have good things happening here in Chautauqua County. No one's waving the flag of victory, but we are creating jobs. We have New Flyer with their new jobs. We have expansion at places like Cummins and Dunkirk Specialty Steel and Fieldbrook Foods. I'm sick and tired of this negative attitude that the fact that we have to drag people down in order to advance a personal political agenda. That's not what we need here in Chautauqua County. We need cooperation, and we need to move forward together despite our political differences.
Bob?
He wants to
You're going to keep up?
The last rebut for this, because this is getting into a debate between 2 people. But go ahead.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that I know you're referring to the Business First article that named Chautauqua County second on that list. Those monies came from Governor Cuomo, Howard Zensky, and the REDC. And yes, a plan had to be put in place by that, but those revenues were generated from a state level and from the Buffalo billions. So we have to make sure that we have a bright vision of Chautauqua County. We have a bright plan for Chautauqua County. But we also have to look at the, as I call it, the warts on the frog. We have hurdles that we have got to overcome in order to continue to be successful.
Ms. Marin?
Yes.
I wanted to add too, though, that it's not about any one particular site too, it's about an attitude and about a movement. And I see a lot of good things happening in Chautauqua County, and I think that that's almost as important as one particular shovel-ready site. If you look at the North County, the water district that's happening up there, how people are working together to make things happen, how the sewer districts around the lake, because people are coming together to make things happen, collaboration across private and public organizations, it means a lot. And that says a lot to people about who we are, so that they'd be more willing to come and invest in Chautauqua County. Go Chautauqua County.
And that's the attitude we
Any
need.
other questions from the audience? Because we have, oh, did you want to say something?
Well, the only thing I wanted to say was, I hear a lot of information in the news about spec buildings. My only concern about spec buildings is they're great and they look good on paper and they look good when you drive by them. But at the end of the day, if the county were to get into spec buildings, and if we don't have an individual to move in there, we're gonna have to start making the payment on those buildings. So I kind of watch when I'm thinking about spec buildings. We talk about shovel-ready sites. I think the mixture of the two is what we have to be, we have to use and have to be successful with. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is this the same question?
It's
Okay.
actually related.
Oh, right.
I think
Relate away.
Thank you. I think the concept of shovel-ready sites can be good and part of our economic development solutions, but in reality, I think we need to start to look inward in how we can support the entrepreneurs and hopeful entrepreneurs that can come to Chautauqua County. They're not, the people I hang out with that open up retail and restaurants and small manufacturing solopreneurs, they don't know what shovel-ready means. They want to do business. They need help. And I think that if we take a look at the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency and realign the resources we have there, we can find a different way to think about economic development that has more resources going to more people instead of just consolidating the resources to a few.
Can I respond to that?
We're going to move to another question, another
Oh, come
area.
on. He got 3 back and forths.
We're moving.
All right.
Did you have a question?
No, not any longer.
Okay. Go ahead, Judy. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes.
Can you tell us what you believe your most significant professional accomplishment is, or legislative accomplishment is, and why you think that?
The gentleman asked what your most significant accomplishment is as a legislator or a candidate or whatever.
I'll take a crack at that.
Anybody else want to start?
Okay, besides me? All right. I'm out.
Mr. Reinhardt.
Yeah. In 2009, we had the opportunity to host one of the largest athletic sporting events in Chautauqua County, the Region 2 Junior Olympic Championships at Strider Field. It was a 4-day competition that brought in close to 1,600 athletes. It took a year of planning, and we had every hotel from Findlay Lake to Dunkirk to Jamestown to some other neighboring counties that with overflow. But I was very proud of the plan that we put together to put that event here in Jamestown, and it was so successful. They came back in 2013 and we did it again.
Great. Anybody else? Your one shining moment.
Can I try it now?
Now you
Okay,
can.
thank you. I'm proud of the fact that we've cut property taxes substantially at the county level. We cut it for 4 years in a row, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. We were at $9.49 back in 2006, and we are now at $8.44 as of tomorrow. If you actually apply the inflation rate to that, $9.49 that we had in 2006, that would equal $11.44 per thousand in 2017 dollars. So we're providing services in Chautauqua County for $3 a thousand less than they did in 2006, and with a lower sales tax rate, despite the other things that people have said around here. I'm proud of the fact that we have better government at a lower cost, and we are reducing the layers of government, starting with our own Chautauqua County Legislature. I led the charge to downsize from 25 to 19, and I'm proud of that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah. Elizabeth.
While not being an elected official in the past, I congratulate the 19 legislators that made that happen. And hope indeed that we see that cut in the next couple of days. From a professional standpoint, we not only ran the $22 million Jamestown Savings Bank Arena, where we brought the World Junior Hockey Championships to town, which created new sales revenue, new tax revenue, bed tax revenue, and more. But I also worked with David on that track and field project, which continued to bring events back to the community. We also brought the Distant Skating Championships, which were broadcast on NBC, which again brought the world to our backyard. Not only world-class figure skaters and gold medal gymnasts, but also entertainers from all around the world. So we've contributed to every level of tax and income, and that's the secret to success for our future, is to bring new revenue streams and not dependent on old tax burdens, nor nonprofit organizations to prop us up.
Ms. Rankin. Rankin, Ms. Rankin wanted to.
I was going to talk about our being part of a group that cut taxes for 3 and soon to be 4 years in a row, but Mr. Borrello did a nice job of summing that up for me. So, and I haven't brought together thousands of people like some of my other colleagues up here, but I was really happy, and I think of it because it was so recent, where I pulled together something in direct response to my constituents, where they were talking about concerns about neighborhood safety. So we had a neighborhood safety night with Chief Snelling. I invited everybody in my district. We had a great turnout. People were very excited, and it started a conversation about what can we do to help each other in the neighborhood, what can Chief Snelling do, and the police. And we have had people from around the city now contact me asking to do it in their parts of the city. And I think I should just add, because my biggest accomplishment was that I beat breast cancer this year.
Yeah.
So that, I did it with the help of the county legislature. If you can.
I did wear pink.
Yeah.
Question over there.
Yeah, I would like to ask each of the candidates to tell me their position on the constitutional convention question that's on the ballot this November.
Constitutional Convention ballot. What is your position? Why don't we just go right down? We'll start with Mr. Reinhardt.
I think it would be an interesting process, but I'm against it.
Mr. Wilfong.
I'm against it.
Mr. Ferguson.
I don't feel that we have fair representation, or that we would have enough representation that would know the problems that we're dealing with in this part of the state. The bulk of our the candidates will be coming from south of the Tappan Zee Bridge. They would not represent Chautauqua County, so at this time I'm against the convention.
Mr. Borrello.
I'm against it as well. I wish I lived in a state that could have a fair and open process, that didn't have super delegates and other special interest groups running a show, but we don't live in that state, unfortunately.
Mr. Besse.
I will be voting no on CONCON this year. I am glad that it is a mechanism that is in our state constitution, but at this time I don't see it as a worthwhile pursuit.
Ms. Rankin.
I too am against it. I think it would be weighted too heavily towards other parts of the state, and so just to be fair to us, I would also be voting no. And we have to make sure that everybody knows to turn their ballot over to get to the questions in order to vote.
And there are 3 of them. But if it turns out to be a yes, would you be willing to be a delegate?
I think Mr. Green wants to correct that.
The ballot will be in printed ballot side, proposition side also. We won't be turning it over for you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay. So if the voters elect to have a constitutional convention, would you run to be a delegate? Let's go from Ms. Rankin.
I don't know. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's
I
reasonable.
have to think about that.
Mr. Besse?
I will run. I'll announce it today. If it goes yes, I will go there. I will campaign across the Senate district. That's how it's decided. And represent our county, even though we would be underrepresented with the 15 superdelegates that would be there. But that's what I'll do.
Mr.
Hopefully I'll be
Borrello?
busy doing something else.
Okay.
Always
Judy?
proud, always proud to represent Chautauqua County in
There
any
you
way
go.
possible. So certainly.
Mr. Will?
I would certainly jump at that opportunity. What a growing and opportunity that would be for us. Wouldn't it be nice to have some local jurisdiction there? Now, would we be successful? I happen to agree with Mr. Ferguson. I think that'll be controlled by downstate, but it would certainly be nice to actually have candidates that were on that board that you actually knew, that actually lived in your community. So I'm with Mr. Besse. We're in.
Okay, Mr. Reinhardt?
Like I said, I think it'd be an interesting process, and I think I'd like to be part of that.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of fun.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions from you? One.
This one is for Mr. Borrello. You did your opening statement about streamlining government and government is too big, which I think everybody in here can agree government bureaucracy is very frustrating with the hoops that you have to jump through. I just want, maybe if you could give me a little bit more detail on what streamline means to you, because streamline means to me cuts and then there's gaps in services or there's gaps in things that can be done. So when you talk about streamlining, just can you kind of expand upon that a little bit?
Sure. Well, first of all, every single community has the right to determine how they're going to be governed. We, at the county level, we want to guide people in that process. In the village of Forestville, they had dysfunctional government, and they were paying a lot of money for that dysfunctional government. And those people chose, through a petition process, to actually dissolve their government. What we did at the county level was we actually facilitated the conversation, and we made sure that a study was done so that good information from a third-party impartial source was disseminated to each and every person who was going to vote. So we wanted to make sure those voters were making an informed decision. And I find, as chairman of the Regional Solutions Commission, that when we have given people good information and we made sure it came from a third-party impartial source, that they do make good decisions, as they did in Forestville, not once but twice. They also did in the village of Cherry Creek, and in the village of Sherman, it failed by just 2 votes. We're not telling people what to do. We're not telling you how your government should work, but we are going to tell you, here's the consequences of doing nothing, because the world is changing around us, and things are becoming more difficult and more expensive. And the people in Forestville are now saving 55% on their property taxes.
Thank you.
May I add?
Yes.
In addition to being able to craft their own version of what that would look like of consolidations and streamlining, the legislature we've stepped up to be able to say there might be additional costs affiliated with that, because we want to make sure that, like, the neediest or people who can't travel or get somewhere aren't going to lose out by changing a location, or, for example, if they need to have ADA compliant construction, that people are going to get what they need. So there are loans, low-cost loans available, there are incentives available from the state, and there's been a lot of good publicity, and Chautauqua County's actually been a great example across the state of what that could look like, and I think that's something we should be proud of. So it's not just streamlining, but it's making sure that needs are, what you said, but needs are still going to get met, and people won't be left out in the process.
Thank you.
Question for Mr. Ferguson and Mr. Borrello. Last time I looked at the sheriff's helicopter, it was dismantled and gathering dust up in a hangar at the Jamestown Airport, and now I've been told that there is yet another helicopter. I haven't confirmed that by looking, but you talked about layers of government and saving money. I'd like to ask each of you what you would do with this helicopter, which has been allowed, frankly, to go to seed, and I believe at one time was valued at over $600,000.
Question has to do with the current condition of the helicopter and what you would do about it.
Mr. Ferguson, go first.
I'm not a big fan of being in there anyhow. I don't know how our current county executive flew the planes that he flew, but we salute him for that. With regards to our current situation in helicopters, I'm not aware of that situation, but I will tell you that that helicopter served this county very, very well. From saving people. Well, we do have a helicopter that the county sheriffs are using that has saved people on ice breaks, that has saved people who've been down in Zor Valley and others. So whatever helicopter that you're referring to isn't the one that I've seen the current county sheriffs using.
It's about a 6-seater right up in the hangar.
Okay. I also believe that whenever you talk about cuts to any type of essential service, like law enforcement, or like fire or EMTs, you're talking about the safety of our constituents. And while we may be able to cut government in other areas or cut services in
Thank you.
other areas, if
Thank
anything,
you.
I believe that they need more support.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Oh, sorry, do I get to respond to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to respond after Mr. Borrello is
Yes,
done.
sure. Yeah, so we have a $280 million budget, and certainly there are a lot of things that often slip through the cracks. I think the sheriff's budget has a long history of having large parts of it that are a bit of a mystery to the legislature and the executive at times. But at the end of the day, he's an elected official, and the folks that go out and vote for him can determine whether or not he's acting efficiently and effectively with your tax dollars. So if you want to know what's going to happen to that helicopter, I suggest that you ask the sheriff.
Thank you. Mr. Wilfong.
By charter, the sheriff is only responsible for doing three things. He's responsible for taking care of the jail, he's responsible for serving papers, and he's responsible for transporting prisoners. My first the question I would love to ask is, why does he have a helicopter in the first place? That's his job. One of the problems we have in Chautauqua County is we have let the sheriff's department balloon into this massive machine in Mayville. Now, I actually heard the sheriff say that he is the largest law enforcement entity in our county, which he is. However, he is not supposed to be in that job. The charter says what he's supposed to do, and I just ran that off. So his boats and his helicopters are really out of his norm for his operations. He should not be doing that. We need to keep that expenditures in check, I believe.
If it wasn't for the sheriff's department, Mr. Borrello's area would not have a law enforcement group right now, as they eliminated their police department in Silver Creek and replaced them with the sheriff's department. As Mr. Borrello said, we have a population the size of Amherst, New York, at about 35 to 38,000 people. We have a footprint the size of Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
It's an awful lot of space to be able to cover. If we didn't need both the sheriffs and the state police, as well as the assistance of our local police departments, I'm quite sure there'd be some great budget savings. But with the size of our county, and I misspoke, it's not 38,000,
130.
but 138,000 people. It's been a long day. It's essential. Protecting the people of Chautauqua County is essential, bar none.
Quick, just give me 1 minute. He talked about my area. Can I respond?
1 minute.
Yes.
We're gonna move on.
I just want to say,
We're gonna move on.
we pay, the town of Hanover pays the sheriff almost $500,000 a year for the privilege of his free service. And we've been telling the folks in Hanover for a long time that the sheriff, last I knew, the town of Hanover is in the county of Chautauqua. And if they chose to just walk away from that gift that we give to the sheriff every year, they'd still have to provide that service. So whether we like it or not, this is not a mandated service. And the reason that we have these services here is because we've chosen to go towards the sheriff's department and away from regional policing, which I believe is a better answer for most people.
Thank you. Yes.
I would like to, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going.
Are we on the helicopter question?
I think we've actually kind of moved off that to what the sheriff expenditures are.
Well, now we're going to get a question from the,
A
Okay,
related
but I didn't get a
question.
chance.
Yeah.
When we talk about consolidating services and centralizing control by consolidating services, how do you balance, how would you balance the need for local control, for local input with more centralized institutions like a central police department or a centralized power, whatever the idea is? Where do you put that balance?
I want us to go first.
anybody wants to go first? You can.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's a good question. What we're really talking about is you have to look at where are the opportunities for us to save money and to consolidate services, but at the same time, each individual municipality has its own unique challenges and its own unique assets. Where I believe that we can centralize things is in places like economic development, where the county can actually take a leadership role, which is why I proposed the Economic Development Alliance, where the county will take that lead role to bring together all of the folks that are involved in economic development in the private sector and in government, so we can all sing from that same sheet of music. And then when someone comes to our community and wants to bring business, wants to bring jobs, they will come to that Economic Development Alliance first, and we will determine the best place for that to be. Those are the type of things that we need to do to centralize services. Not necessarily take away autonomy, but to use our resources efficiently as one county.
Anybody else want to respond to that?
May I briefly?
Yes.
Thank you. I think when it comes down to conversations like this, it's something that a lot of people will talk about often as an effort to find savings, and often there is not as much as we'd hope. I think what's important as we talk about these conversations going forward is that the reduction of essential services are not in jeopardy, from fire to EMT, police departments, and that's going to be something that I will be looking at in the county legislature as we continue conversations as far as consolidation between JPD and the Sheriff's Department. I think what we need to do is look at how we can share services and maybe do collective purchasing and negotiating and things like that. But it's really important for me that each community has the resources that they need and that they can choose how best to use those resources.
Thank you. Rebuttal? Is this rebuttal or
I
comment?
basically agree with Mr. Besse with regards to efficient, effective, and proactive government. And personally, I believe in shared services over consolidation. I think consolidation sometimes can be ineffective. I believe there's a plan that's on the table that does have some fair consolidation, but I believe shared services is a much more effective way of running our government.
I think there are times when the consolidation or shared services, depending on what makes the most sense, has to do with what would make the most sense for the community. And one of the examples I think about are the schools that are considering sharing administrative services because the population has declined to the point where it doesn't make sense to have two schools with a full administration any longer, and that they could help each other. They could share a superintendent, they might be able to share other services between them. So it's not just about centralizing everything, but it's about making things efficient for the people there, take care of them, protect the taxpayers, and so it's not a one-size-fits-all formula for everything. So, thank you.
There's a question.
I know, I had to make sure we were clear here. The woman behind you had a question first, I'm sorry. It's like being in a supermarket line, isn't it? You have to know who's next.
I heard Mr. Ferguson talk about the focus that he wanted to make on bringing new jobs to Chautauqua County. How do you feel that the state or the county government should be working towards getting the students or the young people or even adults trained for whatever these jobs are that might be coming along? What do you feel the responsibility of county government is for that?
To support programs that I believe are essential to that education. With regards to our young people, education is paramount. And we've got tremendous programs in place. The Chautauqua Education Coalition, I think, is doing some tremendous things. I'd like to see them funded a little bit better so that they can accomplish those things. We have our P-TECH and STEM programs, which are teaching skilled labor trades. And that's very important that people realize that no matter how far we go with technology, we're still going to need people with skilled trades. So I believe education from elementary school on up. We've reached people in the past, usually in the last 2 years of high school before they get to college. By introducing these programs early on at the elementary level, I believe we can get kids excited about opportunities we'll have in Chautauqua County in the very near future.
Thank you.
Me too. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think there's quite a few good programs out there at the county level, and we need to provide that leadership, I absolutely believe. We have the Workforce Investment Board, and one of the programs that they are providing is actually a free intern that's paid for with county funding to different businesses, so they can actually have an intern that is paid. And that program provided through the Workforce Investment Board has a 90% placement rate. That's keeping our young people here in Chautauqua County. And it's funded through the Gebbe Foundation as well with some assistance from the county. These are important things that we need to expand. I would love to see us expand that further. If we can keep our people here, because there are jobs here in Chautauqua County. The problem is we're not necessarily putting the right people together with those open positions. So if we can do that more often and keep our young people here, that will help move us forward.
We're running out of time, so let's get one more question, and then we'll close.
Just a brief question. Arguably, Chautauqua Lake and the tax base around the lake brings in over 25% of the budget. I'd like to know the county executive's position on how they're going to work together with the different agencies and the different organizations, the plan that has been put together by the legislature to make Chautauqua Lake a success.
I'll go first.
Sure.
Okay. I've actually worked on a lot as the chairman of the Planning and Economic Development Committee. This is an incredibly important asset for us here in Chautauqua County. But I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. We are not treating the symptoms. We're not treating the disease. We're treating the symptoms right now. Whether it's cutting the weeds or killing the weeds, we're not addressing the real problem, which is the flow of nutrients from the tributaries, and that's what we need to focus on. And we are doing that at the county. It's not doesn't have the sex appeal of pointing to a barge in the middle of the lake and say, "Here, look what I'm doing for you." But that is how we're going to cure the disease that Chautauqua Lake has. I led a delegation to Washington, D.C. We met directly with the EPA, we met directly with the Army Corps of Engineers and our federal representatives, and we now have, after that, we have the Water Quality Improvement Project on the 7001 list, which is the list that is required from the Army Corps of Engineers to get federal funding. We will solve this problem, and it will be done as quietly and not without the fervor of looking at cutting or killing the weeds.
Mr. Ferguson, you wanted to say something.
I don't think anybody can argue with that. As Don Williams said, we drink this stuff. And there's nothing more important than our waterways, because it doesn't just speak to us as current residents. It speaks to our children, it speaks to our grandchildren, and it speaks to anybody coming here. Our lake has turned toxic, and in many cases, we've tied our hands behind our backs. But I will tell you this, rather than having to go back and ask for an additional $100,000, which I thank the legislators for passing, I'd much rather see the efforts of the CLA and the CLP be funded over a golf tournament or a bicycle race.
Thank you. Mr. Wilfong?
I just want to say that there's a lot of work being done on Chautauqua Lake. The Soil and Water Board have done a lot of work. The sewer expansion, which I think we didn't really touch on here, that's going to make a huge difference. That's $17 million worth of infrastructure that hopefully we can find funding for. When I first came on to the county legislature, that was one of my biggest goals, is I wanted to do something about the lake. Well, we have made small incremental steps recently, and we're going to be making some more later on here, hopefully. And that is the fastest 30 seconds I've ever seen. Thank you very much.
Last question.
I have a question for Mr. Ferguson and for Mr. Borrello. Mr. Ferguson, at a recent candidates forum, you made an allegation against Mr. Borrello. You stated that he planned to sell the public landfill and the airports. Mr. Borrello, would you like to respond to that allegation? And where did that come from? First, Mr. Ferguson, where did that allegation come from? Where did you get
Well, there was no allegation that it was coming. I said there's always been talk of those things happening. I never pointed at George Borrello as being a person to say that. In fact, I don't think he's ever said that. But my fear where that came from is that we're selling South County office buildings and the agriculture buildings and there's always a fear that could happen somewhere down the line. Privatization doesn't necessarily always work. In fact, you tend to lose control over those things. So please, I don't mind people holding my feet to the fire, but I never said George Borrello was going to sell the airports.
Mr. Borrello.
Or anything else.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that. Yes, selling the South County office building was a good decision. It was costing the county taxpayers $800,000 a year in maintenance. On top of that, that building is now going to be on the property tax rolls in the city of Jamestown. I don't know if any of you realize this, but Jamestown has a little income problem right now. They're bumping up against their constitutional tax limit, and we're going to have a building that just sold for $1.7 million back on the tax rolls. Mr. Ferguson said that his concern was that the next time the roof needs to be repaired, that it wouldn't be done at prevailing wage. Well, I understand that that's a possibility, but at the end of the day, we need to make good business decisions and decisions that are best for the taxpayers and the people of Chautauqua County. That was a good business decision.
Are you responding to this?
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. No. I think
you
most
got an
people
apple, there's-
came to see you with this show anyway.
My only concern was with the sale of that property. We negated contracts that we had with our unions. And our unions have been the backbone of not only our county, but our country for years. And it took away a prevailing wage. Not to say that they couldn't be renegotiated, but the fact of the matter is jobs are so vitally important. And when we have agreements in place, I just thought that should have been carried over, if at all possible, during that sale.
Thank you.
So we sold the buildings for $1.7 million. The South County office building needed $3.1 million worth of roof repairs and HVAC repairs. The county has agreed to lease the building for 10 years at $591,000. I'm just going through these facts because I know people will be here checking those facts. The South County office building also had an operating expense of $800,000 a year. So we take the $1.7 million, we put it in the general fund, we start to pay the rent. People are saying, well, geez, that seems like that money's going to go fast. The issue is we're still saving the operating part. We're still saving $300,000 a year. And in today's world, we've got to get away from what we consider brick and mortar businesses. There's all kinds of online businesses that are literally out of office space, out of people's garages. Was I supposed to stop? Okay, well, thank you. You got to admit, those are the fastest 30 seconds you've ever seen.
It's a minute response.
Okay.
Yeah.
May I respond?
If you have to.
You've lost control.
No, I have not.
Okay, all
ready
right,
to
I'm just
go.
checking.
Last response, and we have to close.
That sounds great. I spoke out against the sale of the South County office building. I believe it was short-sighted, and the only reason we did it was to cover up this current budget shortfall. I don't think we went through a proper RFP process, and we could have, if we believe that is this asset that we could have sold, then we should have put it out there for longer to get the highest price for the county budget. You know, there's a lot of people I don't think had any idea that that was out there, and I think there's a lot of people that would have been interested in making that investment. As someone who's looking to step into the county legislature, I would see that we would want to hold on to this asset. We see downtown Jamestown going in all these great directions. I see it as an opportunity that we could hold on to that and be part of this downtown renaissance, be part of what's happening in our community. And now we've let the private enterprise be part of that. Yes, businesses are going online, but mental health services and all these things that our community counts on aren't going online. You need to meet face-to-face with people. Also, online businesses like Slick Text and A4, they occupy space downtown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to have concluding statements of 1 minute, and we will have 1 minute concluding statement from Mr. Borrello to start.
Thank you. Thank you again very much for this tonight. I became a county legislator because I truly wanted to affect change here in Chautauqua County. I walked away from my private sector career so that I can help the people of Chautauqua County. We've lowered property taxes. We've reduced the burden of government. We've improved our lakes and waterways. We've addressed the drug problem. And I am truly proud of the government we have in Chautauqua County. We have good government here. We are leading the way in consolidation and in shared services. We are creating jobs. We are certainly looking not only to create more jobs, but also to create a better environment for people to live, work, play, and raise a family here in Chautauqua County. As your next county executive, I will absolutely do that. And I will end with this. I have a solid track record you can look at. My opponent can tell you what he'd like to do, but ladies and gentlemen, I can show you what I've done. And together, we will elevate Chautauqua County. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ferguson.
Leadership speaks, and my leadership shows that we have accomplished things in this county that were not done before. Businesses and people have been brought here that we thought we didn't have a chance of bringing to this community. And each of them resulted in revenues, new revenue streams. Jobs equal new revenue streams, which give us an opportunity to move forward. My opponent says that I sit back and talk negatively. No, we have a vision. We have a vision for things like increased agricultural business, food hubs, technology, and more. But we've got to address the fact that we have projects that we've considered successes, like NRG, Great Lakes, Phoenix, Petrie, and others, and those jobs have not been replaced. We lost over 7,000 jobs in 2000, or just under 7,000 jobs in 2008, and we've lost 27% of our manufacturing base. That has to be replaced in order for us to say, we're a success.
Thank
And
you.
I promise you, we will do that
Mr.
come November 7th.
Ms. Rankin. We have to go on, guys. Ms. Rankin.
I've been really proud to be part of a very effective group of legislators who work well together bipartisanly. We come with good comrades, or I can't speak very well, sorry. And I'm really proud to see getting things done, lowering taxes, working on the lake, working on consolidating, making things better for the people who work here and live here, working on the drug issue, which cuts to the heart of our society, working on crime and safety, trying to make things better for the people who live here. Let's be positive and keep fighting. I mean, those are two things that I can always say. Keep a positive attitude, be proactive, and keep looking for the future. And I think we have a great group of people who care about this place as much as I do. And it's a really wonderful place to live. And I'd love to do this job for 2 more years. Thank you.
Mr. Reinhardt.
My vision for the future lies within the youth of Chautauqua County. I have over 20 years' experience of helping young people. We need our young people to stay here. We all need to feel safe. We need good paying jobs that attract the best and the brightest in the area. We need to unite, not divide. We need to lift up, not look down. We need to embrace cultural and racial differences. There are no simple fixes, and all the problems won't go away, but if we work together, we can make Chautauqua a great place for us all.
Mr. Besse.
Every day I wake up and I think about what I can do to make Jamestown a better place. Right? And I want to do that as your legislator. I've done that as a small business owner. I've done that working for the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation. I've done that as a roller derby coach. I think that these experiences, I think my passion for our community, I think the fact that I am in our community every single day, hiring people, serving them the food, offering opportunities for them to come together and work on the next business projects and be part of this community is an important thing and an important viewpoint for our community. One thing I want to touch on very briefly is I believe that our county can invest heavily in broadband internet access. I believe that the 21st century infrastructure is broadband internet, and the Chautauqua County can lead the way and guarantee that internet access is to every home in Chautauqua County. And when I am on the legislature, that will be something I put forth.
Thank you. Mr. Wilfong.
I'm actually running for my 3rd term as the county legislator from District 11. A few years ago, you sent me to Mayville to do one job, and that was to sell the county home, and I did that job. The second thing you asked me to do was lower your taxes, and I have lowered your taxes for the last 4 years, and tomorrow night you will receive another property tax decrease. You also asked me to do one more thing, is to take care of our veterans, and I've made sure that that veterans van, as troublesome as it has been, is up and running, and we just bought one new last year. Not a lot of politicians can look you in the eye and say that I've done exactly what you sent me to Mayville to do, and that's what I've done. And I will continue to represent you, and I'll continue to watch your pocketbook in Mayville. Thank you. Yeah.
I'd love to.